Welcome to Cranfield University. As that hold music fades away, thank you for taking some time out of your day to join us. My name is Toby Thompson. Welcome to a rather grey day here at Cranfield University. This is a live image. Thank you again. This session is being recorded, so if you're watching the recording, you still can have that conversation with Cranfield. Although we're live here today, please carry on that conversation with Cranfield if you're watching the recording. If you're live, then we're going to be together for, I reckon, 45 minutes, maybe an hour. That's depending entirely on the questions that you ask. So please find the text chat in Zoom and pose, we like difficult questions. We're here talking about the Senior People Professional Apprenticeship. We like tricky questions. So anything that you want to know about how Cranfield does that, why it does it, or quite what it is, we think you know already, then we want to hear from you. Helping me and explain what the Senior People Professional Apprenticeship is Chi, who's I'm joined in the studio by. So Chi, thank you very much indeed. Stick around, we're going to come back to you if I can. We're also joined online by Christina, our good friend Christina, who's from the Apprenticeships office. Christina, it's good to see you there. Give us a wave. Christina, before we come back to Chi and talk about the program, tell us a bit more about yourself and the contributions that you've got to today.
Thanks, Toby. So I'm Christina. I'm one of the apprenticeship leads here at Cranfield. And essentially my role is to help you as employers and applicants through that application journey all the way up until registration day where you actually meet me in person. We say hello, we talk about the apprenticeship, and then you start work with your course team.
Brilliant. Christina, thank you so much. So stick around because we want to hear more from you. Chi, I'm going to come to you first of all. Introduce yourself because you have a very interesting background. Tell us more about where you've been and what you've done.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. So my background started off in industry. I worked in a variety of sectors, in a variety of roles, from employment law to development work, international development work, sustainability. I worked in management consulting, and then I got into HR and HR consulting, FTSE 100 organizations, multinationals, that kind of thing. I then decided to do a doctorate in strategic HRM, which I loved, absolutely loved, and decided to take the plunge as an academic. So I love it here at Cranfield University. I'm part of the faculty with expertise in strategy and HR. And I teach HR, I research and publish HR, influence policy and organizations in the way they practice HR. And I'm part of the Changing World of Work group at Cranfield University. So very much talking about what's the future of HR, what's the future of work, what's the future of the workforce.
And you're the course director of the program we're talking about.
Yes, I'm the course director of the Senior People Professional Apprenticeship with the MSc in Strategic HR. And so I'm here to talk with people about the course and engage with ideas around the course.
Wow. If any of that interests you, and it certainly interests me, please type us a question. Maybe start off by saying, where are you in the world? We're keen to hear, where are you in the world? We get off on the global nature of what it is that Cranfield does here. You've pretty much been everywhere and done everything. You're talking about SHRM, Strategic HRM. I think we can do acronyms here. HRM, OB and OD, as I understand it. Strategic Management, Leadership and Change. And you've been to Coventry, or worked at Coventry, Manchester, De Montfort, Roffey Park Associate. You've been pretty much everywhere.
I've been in a few interesting places and exciting places. Studied international and comparative HR at Manchester. And that was very good because I got to practice after that in the industry with multinationals. Did a PhD and some teaching at Strathclyde. Fantastic stuff there in terms of influencing government policy and organizational direction and strategy. Coventry University, where I won an award for innovative teaching.
Whoa,
I developed a game-based activity, and we just had fun in class, and we also used stuff like Lego to design HR strategy.
Wow, that's too much fun. We've got to be more serious here. Let's talk about the program we're talking about here. So, Senior People Professional Apprenticeship. Who is the course aimed at?
The course really is aimed at people who are already in strategic HR roles and want to upskill and update themselves, especially around future trends, future changes in the work and workforce and the way organizations operate, and who may want to develop some of the more stakeholder and leadership skill side of HR practice, but also people who want to step into strategic HR roles, who want to head functional teams within HR like equality, diversity and inclusion, or strategic workforce planning, that kind of thing, or talent management, and who want to be part of developing, designing, implementing, and changing HR strategy.
So you talk about 3 benefits to this program. Explain that if you can.
So it's a 3-in-1 package. Here at Cranfield, on the apprenticeship, you come out with the apprenticeship qualification from the government, as well as CIPD chartered member status. So the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development obviously is the UK's professional association for HR. And you come out with Cranfield University postgraduate diploma in strategic HRM. And then there's an option to upgrade that to a master's in strategic HRM.
That's £3,000. So if you like what you're hearing and you want to take it to the next level, that's pretty decent value for money, £3,000.
It is fantastic value for money. You get the best of the Cranfield expert faculty. You get the CIPD chartered professional membership. You get the skill set that sits behind that on the CIPD profession map, and you get the knowledge, skills, and behaviors that have been designed into the course and set as a standard by the apprenticeship regulatory body.
So talk us through this.
So in designing the course, we've taken 2 main things into account. What the CIPD wants around a chartered member who is actually a quite senior strategic role in an organization, who plays a senior strategic role in an organization. So we've designed the course around the skills, knowledge and behaviors that sit behind that, as well as the apprenticeship standard that goes into quite a lot of detail around things like communication skills, stakeholder management, strategic workforce planning, content, people analytics, and all of that has been designed and built into the course, but we've given it a Cranfield spin. So our strength at Cranfield and expertise around the changing world of work, around strategic workforce planning, around leadership development, we're bringing all of that into this course.
So people shouldn't think of themselves, who are thinking of coming on the course, as HR directors. They just need to be somehow in that family group within inside an organization, looking at strategically looking at HR. Is that who we're
Yes.
talking about?
It is open to people who are designing strategy, implementing strategy, who may be in the process of adapting strategy, or who may be in the process of wanting to learn and upskill around a strategic skill set. And it's a wonderful course that really is designed to produce the future leaders of HR and the people profession.
Wow, okay. Tell us more about, on the slide here, the different types that we have, the different variants that Cranfield have gone for.
So the apprenticeship standard was designed around 3 streams. So one is a HR mainstream, the other one is an organizational development specialist skill set, and the third one is around learning and development. So Cranfield has gone for the human resource mainstream, and that's the one that we are offering at launch in April next year. And we've done this because we want to move from a HR generalist to a HR strategist. And we think that that is where our unique strengths and contribution lie in developing the future of the HR profession.
So if people thinking of coming on the course are into OB and OD or L&D, not really for them?
Not really for them. Not really for them. Other providers may provide those specialist pathways, but this is more for people who want to lead a HR function or be a senior business leader with a people agenda that they will push and transform the organization through.
Okay. I know you've got some more slides, so you carry on with your slides. Let's find out more about the course.
One interesting thing about the program is the way it's designed. So it starts off with a block of 7 modules, and that's delivered over 18 months. And that covers the breadth and depth of the people profession at a strategic level. And then you move into a 4-month block where you do your endpoint assessment. And that's made up of really two pieces of assessment. One is a portfolio of evidence, and we will support you and help you develop that portfolio over the 18 months across all the modules you do. You'll be practicing some of these things at work. You'll be developing your portfolio step by step. So at the end of the 18 months, you have a portfolio ready to say, these are the skills I have, and these are the ways I've applied them, and I can demonstrate them in a portfolio. And there will be a question and answer session on the back of that. The second piece in the endpoint assessment is the research proposal, which will require some evidence. So you will need to identify a current HR issue in your organization and gather some evidence, perhaps through some interviews or a survey, and that evidence base will provide recommendations to the organization on how to move the issue forward.
And that issue, sorry to interrupt, the issue could be anything that the individual picks up, literally anything,
Yes,
because they're going to know quite what the issue is.
Yes, so we believe you know your organization, and you will know the touch points within the organization. So it's obviously what you're passionate and interested about, but something of relevance to your organization at that point in time. And you have the choice to pick that issue, and we'll have set you up with the skill set you need to understand the design parameters around the issue, the considerations around the issue, root causes, and help you develop a set of practical and feasible recommendations.
And then it carries on to, if you want to, top it up
And then
to an
if you
MSc.
want to, you can come back and do an optional MSc top-up for an extra £3,000, and that will be a thesis where you'll be supervised by an expert faculty from Cranfield. And this really helps you develop and practice your people consulting skills. So you'll be, again, looking at an organization issue. Could be the same issue that you looked at in your endpoint assessment, but you'll be taking it to a whole new level. You'll be looking to integrate cutting-edge research and academic insights in your analysis of the issue and in the recommendations you prefer. You may even want to try out a pilot of some of the recommendations.
And that optional issue, is that immediately after you've done, I guess, the diploma level, or can you defer it for a year or something like that?
There is a potential to defer, but would anticipate that most students will want to come and get it done through immediately. And it does make sense to just carry on across 28 months and get your master's.
Tell us more then about how you're going to deliver this. Is this face-to-face? Is this online? Say some more about that.
Interesting. I think I've got a slide that talks a bit about that. So a blended learning format gives maximum flexibility to students. It also helps people maximize their preferred learning style. So it will be a combination of immersive in-person workshops with our expert faculty at Cranfield, where you also get to develop your professional network with your colleagues who are also on the course and brainstorm together and share learning together, as well as live online sessions that will be delivered using appropriate, technology, cutting-edge technology, and self-paced online learning. So for instance, a typical module will be 3 days at Cranfield in month 1, a block of 3 days, and then you do some self-paced learning, some go off on your own, try some reading, try to experiment and apply some of these strategies at work, learn how it feels, what's the experience, what are the outcomes, and then we'll come back in the second month for a live online session, and then we can have a knowledge sharing session. We can recap some of the main points and see how we can deepen knowledge through a live online collaborative discussion.
Okay, and there's credits. That's how the proportion breaks down.
And that's how the proportion breaks down in terms of credit modules. So most modules will be 20 credits, but a couple of them are 10 credit modules, and those ones will have a 2-day block of live teaching at Cranfield and 1 5-hour session online.
So it's conceivable people on this course or thinking of coming on this course may not have been in education for quite a few years. What do you say to those people?
We say you're welcome. It's a practitioner focused course, but it starts with a module called Theory into Practice Skills for People Professionals. And one of the things we do there is to touch on postgraduate study skills. So the academic skills you would need to underpin your study, but as well as understanding the employee life cycle and developing an evidence-based approach to your HR practice. Those are the kind of things we'll be looking at, and how do you apply cutting-edge theory and give it real-life application in your people professional practice.
How do you, these are interesting looking modules, how do you make sure that the module structure and the module topics are bang up to date? Have you got some advisory board? I guess it's your knowledge too of the industry, what people want.
We've got an advisory board, and they've been consulted in designing the course. We've also reached out to employers, to industry, to HR practitioners to say what are the skills HR practitioners need now and what are the skills HR practitioners need in the future. What do you want the future leaders in the people profession to have in terms of a skill set? And we've integrated all of this into the design of the course, and we cover things like how do you design and implement a strategy, how do you adapt that strategy to changing environmental context, but also how does HR look in different sectors and across different industries and different types of organizations. We've looked at integrating equality, diversity, and inclusion all through the course, and strategic workforce planning will be covered on the talent sourcing and development module, as well as talent management, succession planning, and introduction to coaching and mentoring and other skills around learning and development. Employment law is obviously crucial for today's HR professional, as well as employment relations, understanding money and what money can do and what money can't do is important. So reward management as well as performance management. And how do we integrate this with employee engagement, employee well-being, and considerations around sustainability? So these are things that are covered in the modules. Applying data analytics and artificial intelligence to HR is very important, as well as developing your consulting skills, your people consulting skills, whether that is stakeholder management, whether that is consulting, understanding consulting processes, cycles, strategies, whether that is project management skills. You know, we have a very rich package here.
Brilliant. Before we do a deep dive, just a reminder, if you've not had a chance to ask a question, then please, if this interests you, what she's talking about interests you, and you're studying this here at Cranfield University, we are very keen to hear from you. Please type a complicated or difficult question, I'm joking, into the text chat, and we'll do our level best to come around to that. And it could be around the application process too. Christina's around, or we can talk a little bit more about that. So pretty much any questions that you may have that she's touched upon. Chi, tell us more about the detail then. We're together for 22 or so months. What does it look like? What's the process?
The process really comes through a design that says what are the foundational building blocks you need as a HR professional. And we think that is stuff around understanding your personal approach to HR. And we give you a few things to consider in designing your own personal approach to HR. So for instance, do you consider evidence important? So what's an evidence-based approach to HR? How do you move beyond best practice in HR, which is the very popular thing in HR, to actually say what's the evidence that sits behind the decisions we make in HR, the policies we implement, and the strategies we design, and the interventions we design. What does behavioral science say about HR? So all of this come from the theory into practice skills module at the beginning, and we'll be saying, how do you nudge people? What does the psychology, behavioral psychology, say about people's actual behavior as opposed to what we think people would do as rational human beings? Many of us are swayed by emotion, but we are also swayed by availability. So how do you design HR? How do you design workspaces? How do you design work interactions? How do you design people management practices to integrate some of the cutting edge stuff coming out of behavioral science? What are the critical approaches to HR? What are the different stakeholder perspectives? that you may want to consider in integrating into your HR practice. How do you listen to stakeholders? How do you integrate varying perspectives? How do you synthesize and build synergy from different stakeholders and different perspectives? So these are some of the things we start with as a set of building blocks, as well as postgraduate study skills and skills around understanding the theory that cuts across the employee life cycle, from attraction to recruitment, selection, onboarding, induction, training, development, performance, and a good exit. And perhaps how do you entice your alumni to come back back to the organization with a new set of skills they've learned while they were away. So we look at the employee life cycle and we say, how do we apply cutting edge theory and academic research to each of the stages of the employee life cycle so that we can make a difference in our organizations?
That's fascinating, because you're asking people of their own opinions, not just a corporate opinion or what the industry says, but what do you think? Hence the senior. I guess that's why it explains why the senior is important at the front of the title of the program, because you're expecting people to know some of this stuff.
Absolutely. So this is about developing critical thinkers, original thinkers, and innovative thinkers. And so we are asking you to develop a personal practice as a HR leader, as a values-based leader, as a HR strategist. And we give you a menu of options to choose from, and we give you building blocks to develop some of the skill sets that sit behind that.
I know you've got a slide looking at the structure of the course, but what are we looking at in terms of the course? What do the modules look like?
So starting off with the building blocks, we then move into understanding people and organizations. So we look at inclusion, diversity and equality as very fundamental to that, and how do we move from merely expanding our diversity demographics to actually being an inclusive organization, and how do we develop inclusive leadership? How are organizations structured? What is the impact of organizational culture on people and their day-to-day work and performance, but also on their long-term contribution to organizations? What's the impact of organizational culture on the interactions in teams and in people groups and social networks? So we look a lot at organizational culture. We look at leadership in the organizational behavior module, as well as equality, diversity, and inclusion. We also introduce systems thinking. How do all the different parts connect, and how do they interrelate, and how do you hold them in a dynamic that recognizes the complexity of this world and of HR practice? So those are some of the things we introduce there, but we also help you understand your personality, your strengths, and how to play to your strengths. We take a very individual developmental approach on the organizational behavior and inclusion module. So you have an opportunity to engage with some psychometric tools for your personal leadership development, to understand yourself as a leader and to become a more effective leader. And we also talk about influencing with impact. What does that look like? What are some case studies we can learn from? What are some practical skills we can bring to play? How do we develop emotional intelligence to manage our own emotions, to be more effective HR leaders and people professionals, and also understand and manage the emotions of those around us, because emotions are very strong, and passions are the way to get people to focus on goals and achieve objectives. We then move into a strategy module where we start not with HR strategy, but with your business model and organizational strategy. You need to understand the options available to organizations and the strategic routes they've taken, and how does that make sense in their industry, in their market, and in their niche, and how do they capture value across the business model. And then we can now say, what can the people agenda do to transform this, to put some dynamite in it, to give it that impetus and rockets, turbocharge it, and rocket propel it. So then we start looking at HR strategy. What is HR strategy? What are the design parameters around HR strategy? How do you design a HR strategy? How do you implement HR strategy? What are the different HR practices that can sit underneath that to support your overall people strategy? And then we take a very specialist look then at strategic workforce planning. So how do you ensure you have the workforce in the right numbers, the right skills, the right time, the right place, working in the right way to deliver your people strategy? We look at talent management, succession planning. We also look at developing people, which is a key part of your talent development pipeline. And then we look at coaching and mentoring. So not just the theory around coaching and mentoring, but the practice of coaching and mentoring. And you're given opportunities to practice coaching and mentoring in your learning support groups, and reflect on this practice to develop yourself as a coach. We have specific tools, including online tools, around career coaching. And that's one very good way to learn career management as well as practice coaching skills. So those are the kind of things we'll be covering on the talent sourcing and development module. We then go into look at employment relations and law skill set. How do we understand today's world of work? Whether that's a gig economy, whether that's a platform economy, what's the relationship between the individual and the organization, and how is that changing? And how can you leverage on that relationship to get the best out of your people? And what does employment law teach us here about this? How can we ensure that we not just comply with the law, but we are actually operating as an ethical organization? So we cover some of these things around employment relations and law. And then we look at people and performance management. The people profession is about people, so we need to center people here. What do people expect? What are their aspirations? What are their dreams and desires? And how can you tap into that in the world of work to get the best out of your people? How do you ensure performance management is a continuous and ongoing activity rather than something that feels like it's done once in a while to me? It should change to something that I own, I lead, I drive, and I can see its usefulness and value because I can see how it's enhancing my performance. How do we reward our workforce? What are some of the options available? And how do we adapt that to different contexts? Employee engagement is key here. How do we move from rules and compliance relationship to one around engaging employees, where they are engaged mentally, engaged with the mind, but also with their heart and with their passions and with their emotions? And how do we understand employee engagement to feed into other aspects of the employee experience? So what really is your employee experience? What's your employee value proposition as an organization? How do you design one? And how do you ensure that the employee experience is such that if the employee was a customer, they would choose you first time all the time as an organization? Because you want your talent to love what they do and how they do it in the organization. And well-being is key. How do we, as a strategic people professional think tank, really, which is what we are in the class, how do we envisage the future of well-being delivered through a people profession? So some of these things are quite important, and we feel they should underpin what a strategic senior people professional should know. People analytics and consulting is very key here. So how do you move from data to insight? That's very important. Yes, you need to understand the data and how to crunch the numbers, but that is useless if you cannot get valuable insights that will drive business decisions. So you need to be able to drive the business decisions with insight from data. And really that's what a senior people professional should be doing, is developing that strategic insight. But you then need consulting skills to ensure that that insight gets buy-in and that insight leads to transformation. And so what are the skills you need as a people consultant and as a HR business partner, senior HR business partner? We need to move from advice to consulting. And here that's a unique skill set that management consultants have, and that we'll be sharing in the classroom with myself and other colleagues who are also in the consulting business, have the experience of consulting, still consult for Cranfield University with our clients. So we'll be talking about the consulting process, consulting cycle, consulting strategies, and the stakeholder management that underpins a lot of that, as well as the research base you need to develop credible recommendations supported by research evidence. Also, how do you manage projects? Because HR change, HR transformation are really projects that you need to manage effectively to deliver a successful outcome. So we have all of this as a design in the course, and you have an opportunity to come for a top-up where you can practice being a people consultant under one-on-one supervision from expert faculty at Cranfield. You can experiment with some interventions at the organization, and you can develop a credible set of recommendations as a people consultant.
If you've just painted a picture that makes me want to be a student on this course, but if you weren't interested in this topic, you probably should be by now. I guess people also learn from each other as much as they do from the experts and faculty on the course. Is that right?
That is the idea. You work really in learning groups, and that is where you get to practice some of the stuff around teamwork and collaboration. But that is also where you learn to get ideas from different organizations, different contexts, different industries, so that when you go back to your organization, you can look at your HR and people management differently. You can think out of the box. So it does challenge us, and it does encourage us to brainstorm. And that's the way we've designed the course, that you work in groups, as well as sometimes when the whole class is brought together, and we'll be sharing learning and experiences across the way.
I know you've got a few more slides left, but I'm very keen to go to Christina, if I can, just to talk about the procedure at least. Christina, I got an opening question for you, but I think you've got some slides as well. But can I just ask you, why should you even consider, why should the people watching this session, why should they even consider studying an apprenticeship at Cranfield?
Me, it's just the best opportunity. You're getting support from your employer. You're getting paid time to come and study at Cranfield, so they support you. Your employer supports you by being here, whether it's face-to-face or that live online teaching. So you get that protected ring-fence time to spend here at Cranfield to work on your studies and to upskill yourself. You're getting 3 qualifications in one, essentially. So if you do the apprenticeship, you're getting that postgraduate diploma, you're getting the accreditation, and you get an apprenticeship certificate. And it's all paid for by your employer. So it's just a golden opportunity, really. And then should you want to carry on studying here at Cranfield, which the majority of our apprentices do because they're having such a great time, for £3,000 more, you can then top up to a full MSc. It's just such a golden opportunity. Why wouldn't you do it?
Okay, I'm not sure if you have some slides there, but can you describe, Christina, the application process? What do you do next?
Yes, so the first step is to get your employer to do what's called an expression of interest. So that's on every single one of our apprenticeship course pages. So if you search senior people professional at Cranfield, the course page will pop up on Google right at the top there, and on that web page is the expression of interest. Once the employer submits that, we'll create an employer profile for them and share with them the application link. And then they can share that internally with the employees that they would like to apply. And the first stage for the applicant is very similar to a traditional student, in that you would fill out an application form with your personal details, and then you do a personal statement. And that personal statement is really important. That is what she is going to read to find out your motivations for wanting to do the apprenticeship programme. You then also do what's called an initial assessment, where we look at your knowledge, skills and behaviours, what level you're already working at compared to the apprenticeship standard that you're going to be undertaking. And the key thing with an apprenticeship is you should be at that novice, beginner, hardly any experience at all stage, because we're going to teach you all of those knowledge, skills and behaviours. We are going to make you an expert by the end of the apprenticeship programme. You'll also undertake a Maths and English assessment. The Education and Skills Funding Agency deem Maths and English essential skills, and we would agree too. They are definitely essential skills to have. So we look at your current working levels, and if you need a bit of help and support to bring those up to a working level of 2 or higher, so that's equivalent to a GCSE grade C or higher, we will support you when you're on programme to do that. So that is an assessment, not a test. It's always worth bearing that in mind. And once that's done, together with the course team, we'll look at your application and then make an offer. So that's the application process.
Brilliant, thank you. And deadlines, what are we talking about?
Oh, that is a great question. So the deadline is the 23rd of February, 2024. Make sure I got the year right there. So it is approximately 7 weeks before the apprenticeship programme starts. So that is when applications, so that first stage of going online and submitting your online application, that's that first stage, the deadline for that. What is really essential is, although it asks for documents during that application process, if you can't find them, you can't get hold of them, please don't worry. It's more important to submit your application by the deadline than it is to have everything on there. Getting that personal statement right is key though. It's not like a job application. We won't reject it if you've got something missing. What we do is we come back to you and ask you for some more information.
I know you've got another slide there. Talk us through the next slide.
So this is what is an apprenticeship. I think these are the key points to take away, in that it's an opportunity to upskill yourself or your current employees, depending on if you're the employer or potential applicant. You've got the chance for career development. And you've also got a chance to implement those new skills straight away. So Chi was talking about that earlier, about taking that learning from the classroom and implementing it into the workplace straight away. So other key areas are, you've got that employer support, you've got that training paid for by the apprenticeship levy. So your employer, if it has a pay bill of over £3 million, has a ring-fence fund that they can only spend on apprenticeships. If they don't spend it on apprenticeships, it gets given to government. So it's a golden opportunity. They've got that money there ready to spend on apprenticeships. You've got that ring-fence time that I talked about earlier to support you with your learning here at Cranfield, whether that's face-to-face or online. So it's a minimum of 6 hours per week. However, at Cranfield, we like to work you slightly harder, and that we ask for 7. But do bear in mind, it's master's level, so it's level 7 apprenticeship. This is the highest level apprenticeship that you can undertake. You get those recognised qualifications as well. So in this case, it's postgraduate diploma. That's still a level 7 qualification. You get your accreditation, and you get the apprenticeship certificate too. And it's that opportunity to upskill, as I said before.
There is a question from Dipta. Dipta's asking, is there only one intake per year for this course, which is April so far, or are you planning on 2 intakes?
We're planning on 1 intake.
1 intake a year?
Yes,
Okay.
April.
And also, Lisa's asking, can you confirm the timeline, the start and finish dates? Starts in April. I know you had a slide on this one.
Actually.
Yeah, let's go back to that slide. We had a blue slide with some start dates and finish dates. That one, yeah. Let's go for that one.
So we plan to start in April 2024 with the first module. And like I said, each module roughly runs over 2 months, sometimes 3 months. And so you can see the flow across all the modules. By the time you get to September 2025, you should have completed the 7th module, and you should be ready for your endpoint assessment. and that then goes into a 4-month block from October 2025 to January 2026 to get your endpoint assessment done. And then you can come up, if you've signed up for the optional MSc top up between February 2026 and July 2026 to do a thesis.
Okay, so Lisa, hopefully that answers your question. There is a question, I think another one from Lisa. If you already have, and this is possibly for you, Christina, if you already have GCSE Maths and English, do you still need to complete the assessments for them?
Yes, so we do ask that everyone completes the assessment just so that we can see your current working level. Because although you may have those certificates, you might be a similar age to myself and have not been and done secondary education for well over 20 years. So those certificates might be, you were there at the time, but your skill level might have changed a little bit. If you're anything like me, you're great for, maths, fine calculating a discount in a sale, but when it comes to, other more complex maths, might have left those behind. So we do ask that everyone completes those assessments, and again, they are an assessment, it's not a test. So please don't worry about that, it's just part of the onboarding process. If your levels are below 2, it's not a problem. We'll provide you with online support and you work through those at your own pace. If you've got those certificates in place, we ask that you submit those and we'll add those to your apprenticeship record.
That sounds so helpful. Thank you so much, Christina, because I'm just like breathing a sigh of relief on your behalf here. Dipta has a bunch of questions. Dipta, thank you. Dipta's asking, the face-to-face sessions, will they be over the weekend or during the week? And is the expectation to stay over for the full 3 days at Cranfield University?
So the apprenticeship is designed to be part of your work. So it's part of your work day in your work week. So most of the face-to-face sessions will be during the week, usually Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that kind of block day. And the expectation will be for people to stay. And we do have fantastic residential accommodation you can book in our guest house here or around the Cranfield campus. There are options available. So the expectation is that it will be part of your work day, and you shouldn't be really using your personal time and your weekends for this.
So Rachel's asking a kind of follow-on question. I think you've answered it already, but at least 6 hours per week completing classroom-based learning on-site or online. It's a combination. I think you pretty much said.
It's a combination, and that also includes the time in the classroom. So obviously in the block days, we'll be doing more than 6 hours a week. So in the weeks when you're not in the classroom, then you can spend less time on self-study and self-paced learning.
Peace has an interesting question. If you want to complete the MSc top-up, do you have to make the decision and pay at the beginning of the course, or can you decide later on?
You can decide later on. We do have a cutoff point though. So around module 7, so somewhere around June, July, August, September 2025, there will be a date that will be publicized to students, and that will be the cutoff date to make a decision around going on to the MSc top-up.
Brilliant. Okay. In terms of careers, I mean, the people that are coming or think you're coming on this course are already in a job in a senior HR position. How will this course develop their career?
This course is fantastic for their careers because we are looking at developing the next generation of chief people officers, HR directors, chief HR officers, and people who will be the future leaders in the HR profession. So that is obviously massive for careers to have this on your CV and to have the skill set you can evidence at work that highlights the fact and makes you stand out that this is a HR leader and a HR strategist.
Thank you. Christina, you talked already about you were out of education for quite a while and don't worry about coming back in. But are there any specific skills that people need to brush up on, aside from what Christina said in terms of maths and English and so on? Are there specific areas of knowledge other than HR, of course?
No, we want you to come as you are, and the diversity is actually our strength. So we want you to come with your experiences of working in HR, and then we can take it from there to move you to the next level. So there are no specific set of skills we want you to brush up on, but we do have a curriculum of knowledge, skills, and behaviors that we're going to help you develop across. And really, we are designing our course to be unique, to stand out in the market from other providers of this level 7 senior people professional apprentice, because we are focusing on skills around HR business partnering and people consulting. And that is quite different from the other providers who are providing this level 7, who have gone for a more generalist provision. But we are very clear that we are integrating across the whole course the skills for HR business partnering and people consulting.
Thank you for that. Christina, I'm not sure if you had any more slides or if you wanted to carry on with the instructions as to how to join us. Was there more that you wanted to add?
I have one more slide, which was just key advice, I think you would call it, as to why and what you should do once on programme to have a good experience. So just wait for that to arrive. So that's how to apply. So we've just covered that slide. So if we go on to the next one, so what do we expect from you? Attendance is mandatory, and it's really important that you attend on that first day of learning, because unfortunately if you don't attend you wouldn't be able to start the apprenticeship and you would have to defer to a later intake. It is absolutely essential. We do appreciate though that things do happen in life. You know, you might have waited a really long time for that NHS appointment and it finally arrives and it's on a teaching day, guaranteed to happen. Absolutely fine. Let us know, we'll work with you about catching up on that missed learning. Throughout apprenticeships, there are things called tripartite reviews, so they happen approximately every 12 weeks, and they're between your apprenticeship tutor, so everyone has an apprenticeship tutor to support them through their apprenticeship, keep them on track, keep them on target. Your line manager and yourself as the apprentice, and that is basically a review. What have you been doing over the last 3 months? What have you achieved? Which of those knowledge, skills and behaviours have you gained evidence for? And how's your off the job going? And what are you going to do over the next 3 months? What's your plan? How can your line manager help and support you obtain that evidence that you need for each of those KSBs? You need to complete the off the job training, which we have been talking about throughout. So it's that average absolute minimum of 6 hours of government request on average throughout the apprenticeship, but at Cranfield we ask for 7 hours per week on average. So as she said, you some weeks do more when you're here studying at Cranfield, whether that's face-to-face or online, and the next week you do less, so it's an average across the programme. You do have to record that, and we have to submit that to show that you are learning and taking part in your apprenticeship. Submit your assignments on time. I know it sounds really obvious, but lots of our students like to wait until the very last minute to submit. And unfortunately, for them, Cranfield staff are not here at midnight when the deadline is normally. So if you submit during office hours, if you do experience any IT issues in the stresses of submitting, we are here to help you, but we're not here at midnight, just to confirm. Work hard, it really pays off. So start as you mean to go on. If you are meeting all the requirements, you're meeting with your apprenticeship tutor regularly, you're doing the reading that she's set, you're submitting your assignments, you're collecting that evidence, you're doing your off the job, it will really pay off, because you'll find it a lot easier to do it little and often than keep saving up chunks of things to do for your apprenticeship. Find ways to apply what you've learned in the workplace. We don't just expect that from you. Your apprenticeship tutor would help and support you along with the faculty that are teaching the programme as well. And the key thing is ask us if you need any help. So not only the faculty that are teaching you, so your module leaders and your course team, but the apprenticeships office as well. And we're here to help not only you as an apprentice, but your employer too. So if anybody has a question at any time, we are all here and happy to help you. We want you to be as successful as you do. And that is really reflective in the pass rate. So I'm not sure that we've shared that yet, but I think on average, first time for the initial the endpoint assessment, we have a pass rate in excess of 96%, and we often have more distinctions than we do passes. So no pressure to any future applicants, but you know, pass rates are very high. So we're really proud of those, and I think that is reflective of the support that we offer our apprentices when they're on programme.
You just make it sound so easy. You've kind of upped the ante there, but you make it sound so simple. Please keep any questions coming that you may have. We've got a few more minutes left, but I got one around chartered status for CIPD. How does that relate to this program?
So this program has been designed with that in mind. We've looked at the CIPD profession map, and we've worked with the CIPD to ensure that the course maps to chartered membership, all the skills, knowledge, and behaviors you need to demonstrate at that level. So if you come on the course and you're funded by the apprenticeship levy as an apprentice, you then do an endpoint assessment, and that endpoint assessment evidences through your portfolio that you are operating as a senior people professional and you have the capabilities to operate at that level. And so you come out automatically with the chartered membership of the CIPD. For those who are not funded by the apprenticeship levy and who may be self-funding, it's a slightly different route, and I'm happy to have a one-on-one conversation to explain that.
Okay, thank you. Someone's asking, can you just confirm the qualifications that you come out with at the end of it? Is it a diploma? Is this a certificate? Is it master's? Just go over that one more time.
So you come out with a 3-in-1. You come out with Cranfield University PG Diploma in Strategic Human Resource Management. You come out with the CIPD Chartered Membership status, and you come out with the apprenticeship certificate. And for people who want to upgrade the PG Diploma from Cranfield University, they have an option to upgrade that to an MSc in Strategic Human Resource Management.
Brilliant, thank you. There are no more questions at the moment. If you've got a burning question, now is the time to ask it. It's not too late. You can carry on these conversations with Cranfield University. Study SOM, one word, at cranfield.ac.uk is the email address that we'd like you to contact and to use to carry on this conversation, but we want more from you. Since we have a few more minutes remaining, Christina, just the last words of advice, aside from working hard. You already said work hard when you're here. Your last words of advice.
Engage with your apprenticeship tutor. So I don't think we've talked too much about those, but all of our apprentices are given an apprenticeship tutor, and they're not part of our faculty, although they are based within the School of Management. They are experts in apprenticeships, so they've been working within the apprenticeship sector in various guises for many years, and we've had apprenticeship tutors since I think 2018 at Cranfield. They are key to the apprentices being successful. They are there to support them throughout, keep them on track, make sure they're doing that off the job, make sure they're applying their knowledge in the workplace, that they have support from their employer, they're making good progress. They're there as a shoulder to cry on when things get tough, and you know it can be you guys are working full-time in senior roles and doing study on top of that. It's not an easy ask, but it's so worthwhile. The apprenticeship tutors also act as your cheerleaders as well, so really pushing you forward and getting the best out of you.
That's wonderful to hear. To reiterate that point, we know how it is for you, so we welcome your questions and comments. Any last suggestions from you? You showed your passion for the topic, and you've got me excited now. Last tips?
A couple of things. So one is the apprenticeship really is about you, and it's important to engage with what you're doing at work through the lens of what you're learning from Cranfield. So bring the stuff you learn from Cranfield back into the work. Experiment with it, try it out, apply it. And it may be stuff you work on directly in your day job or on a project in HR work, or it may be stuff other parts of the HR function are doing, and you can just book a coffee, have a chat with someone and say, what are you doing around performance management? I'm in the OD team, but you guys are doing performance. Let's have a chat, and then think about how the stuff you've learned at Cranfield can feed into what the organization is doing, what the people function is doing. So look at it really as an applied apprenticeship at work. So that's my top tip. Second thing is come to Cranfield.
I knew you'd say that.
Because we have an expert faculty that is world class. And they are not just expert in their fields, but they're lovely people. They're very friendly, very supportive, absolutely lovely people. And they are world class because they are thought leaders for the CIPD. We are leading the cutting edge research on many of the things we'll be teaching in class. We are the ones writing the books and the research publications and reports influencing policy on these topics. So you really want to come to Cranfield to engage with the cutting edge research that we are doing, and our expert faculty.
Well, Chi, you're an inspiration. You're an ambassador for this topic. Get yourself to Cranfield. That's what you heard there. That's what I heard anyway. Fantastic. We've run out of time. Christina, thank you so much for your time. You make it again sound so easy and so fantastic. So thank you for your time. Chi, thank you very much indeed. The studio managers today were Robin Hackett and Marco Gomez. The producers were Tammy Argent-Peters and David Metcalf. My name is Toby Thompson. Thank you for watching.